In this video, I'll talk about multiplying real numbers. First, some rules. The sign of a product. The product of two real numbers with the same sign is positive. For example, if we multiply 3 times 4, they're both positive. We get a positive 12 answer. If we multiply negative 6 times negative 3, they both have the same sign, so the answer is going to be positive 18. The product of two numbers with different signs is negative. For example, 2 times negative 5, they have opposite signs. My answer is going to be negative 10. Negative 7 times 2, the signs are opposite, so my answer is going to be negative 14. Just like addition and multiplication has its own properties. The commutative property. The order in which you multiply two numbers does not change the product. In algebra, we would say A times B equals B times A. For example, 4 times negative 5 is going to be the same thing as negative 5 times 4. Associative property. The way you group three numbers in a product does not change the product. In algebra, we'd say A parentheses A times B and parentheses times C equals A times parentheses B times C and parentheses. With numbers, we could say parentheses negative 2 times 7 and parentheses times 4 equals negative 2 times parentheses 7 times 4 and parentheses. Identity property. The product of a number and 1 is that number. 1 is the multiplicative identity. In algebra, A times 1 equals 1 times A. That gives me A. Example, negative 5 times 1 equals negative 5. Property of 0. The product of a number and 0 is 0. In algebra, A times 0 equals 0 times A equals 0. An example with numbers, negative 3 times 0 equals 0. The property of negative 1. The product of a number and negative 1 is the opposite of the number. In algebra, A times negative 1 equals negative 1 times A gives me the opposite of A, or negative A. Example of numbers, negative 2 times negative 1 equals 2, which is the opposite of negative 2. Example 1. Find the product. We have negative 3 times 6. We have opposite signs, so my final answer should be negative 18. B. 2 times negative 5 times negative 4. So we see we have two signs that are the same. So that would be the same thing as 2 times negative 5 times negative 4 would be 20. And 2 times 20 would give me 40 as my final answer. And then last, we have negative 1/2 times negative 4 times negative 3. Negative half times negative 4 is going to be positive 2. 2 times negative 3 will give me negative 6, and we are done finding the product of these problems. Example 2. Identify the property of multiplication. In A, we have x times 7 in parentheses times 0.5 equals x times 7 times 0.5 in parentheses. So whenever we see parentheses, we automatically know that's going to be associative property. B, we have 8 times 0. Anytime we see 0, anything equal to 0, that's going to be the property of 0. C, we have negative 6 times y equals y times negative 6. All we did is flip negative 6 and y. When you see that the two things you're multiplying are flipping, that's going to be your commutative property. D, 9 times negative 1 equals negative 9. Anytime you multiply, see a negative 1 involved, that's going to be the property of negative 1. And then E, 1 times V equals V. Whenever you see a 1 involved, this is going to be your identity property. And we are done identifying our properties. Example 3. Find the product of negative 4x times 0.25. Justify your steps. So let's start. We have negative 4x times 0.25 equals 0.25 times 4x, and this is my commutative property. Then we can write 0.25 times 4, it should be a negative 4 x, and this will be just my associative property. All I did is switch which way the parentheses went, so we'll write associative property. Then 0.25 times 4 will be negative 1 times x. This is just multiplication. You just multiplied. And negative 4. And then negative 1 times x is going to be negative x. This is the multiplication property of negative 1, and we are done multiplying by justifying our steps. And example 4, solve a multi-step problem, a lake problem. In 1900, the elevation of Mono Lake in California was about 6,416 feet. In 1900 to 1950, the average rate of change in elevation was about negative 0.2 feet per year. From 1950 to 2000, the average rate of change was about negative 0.526 feet per year. Approximate the elevation in 2000. So first we want to find the elevation by the end of 1950. So we're starting with 6,416 feet. And 1900 to 1950, that's going to be 50 years. And we're average, this is from 1900, we'll say 1950 minus 1900, that is where my 50 comes from. And we're changing at negative 0.2 feet per year, or 0.112. So we need to multiply and find out what our values are. So 50 times negative 0.2 is going to be 6416 plus negative 6. So we dropped 6 feet. So by the end of 1950, we're down to 6,410 feet. Now we go another 50 years, from 1950 to 2000. So we'll go 2000 minus 1950, so that's going to be another 50 years. So we're using the new answer, so 6,410 plus 50 times, this time we're changing at negative 0.526 feet per year. So same procedure. So 50 times negative 0.526, this time we're going to be adding negative 26.3. And now we add 6,410 plus negative 26.3, and we have a final answer of 6,383.7. So in 2000, this is how much, this is our height at the elevation above sea level in 2000. Sea level in 2000 is approximately 6,383.7 feet, and we are done.